Hi, it's Kit Bates here, and today I want to talk a bit about disruption, because disruption is a word that has never really sat comfortably with me. I think I see it as too messy and unpredictable, and it sounds like it's going to be chaos. But of course, it's a very popular phrase currently used in the tech industry, and everybody who comes up with a new app or new concept talks about how it's going to disrupt something. But there is one thing, which is that it doesn't matter how potentially disrupting your technology is if people don't take it on board. If people hadn't wanted to switch from horses to motor cars because they were perfectly happy with horses, and in fact horses gave them a whole bunch of things that cars couldn't, such as some kind of meaningful relationship, or that they were just found aesthetically more beautiful, then the motor car could have failed. And even though on paper it would look like the disruptive technology of the motor car should wipe out horses, it was really ultimately down to the fact that individual consumers decided that having a motor car in the driveway was just more convenient than having a horse. And that kind of outcome is never 100% guaranteed. You, as somebody really close to the technology, may look at it and say, yes, this is what we should all be using, this is perfect. But adoption doesn't just happen overnight. It is a long campaign rather than just one or two simple battles. So this of course is what Bitcoin and blockchain have faced, and I think if you look at the time span that Bitcoin has been around, you can see that there has to be something there, because it has grown phenomenally. We still haven't seen the big institutions really stepping up and taking notice. They are still at the fighting stage now, I think. But I can't help but think that as it gets into the hands of more and more ordinary people, and as it gets more and more usable, people will just naturally shift towards a cryptocurrency world, because when all the glitches and risks are ironed out, it will be firstly a lot more convenient than traditional banking systems, and secondly, there is the big thing with the lack of deflation of the value of the currency. Yes, it's volatile at the moment because it hasn't settled down into its sort of natural valuation, and I think that is a long way off, because there are going to potentially be billions of people eventually adopting this. But when it does settle down to some kind of reliable level of value storage, then I think the turning point will come, because people will look at dollars or euros or yen and say, I put these in a shoebox and I forget about them for a decade, and when I come back I can buy half of what I used to be able to. Whereas with a cryptocurrency, because they aren't printing more and more of them, they should keep their value. Anyway, I'm not an expert economist. I'm just an amateur at this, but that's kind of what I feel at the base level is the sort of strength of this system, knowing that there's a limited number of them out there, and therefore nobody's going to come along and suddenly pump trillions more into the system, devaluing the ones that you already have. I guess it's like share dilution in companies, right? Where if you happen to own 10% of a company but you don't have the control to stop dilution, then you could suddenly end up with 1% or 0.1%. That guy Wilder Severin in Facebook being a case in point. Okay, that's it for today. Hope you thought it was interesting, and see you again in the next video soon. Bye for now.